Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Banishing the Doubt, Living Your Best Life Now. Tonight I want to talk about letting go. The first quote I have here, an affirmation, I believe to me it is probably the biggest one that I've ever found and probably the hardest one for me to really fully embrace and adapt into my life. And you may not be able to see with the glare, but I'll just read it here. I am letting go of others' reactions as a reflection of my self-worth. Now, that to me is a big one because how many times, especially as a young child growing up, did we feel that our self-worth, our opinion of ourselves, really was attached to others' reactions? I mean, first and foremost, it would be our parents, right? If they ever got mad at us, we got upset, obviously. Their reactions to whatever it may be, and in growing up, we come into this world and we go from anytime we have even the slightest reaction to anything, the whole world comes to us and helps us out. Oh, what's wrong with you? And oh, let me pick you up and hold you and caress you, and it's fine. Oh, look at the baby. He or she is crying, right? The whole world comes to us and is there for us to hold us up and to reassure us. And we transition into something of oh my God, you're crying again. That baby's crying again, right? And then we transition into, what do you mean you're crying again? No, I'll give you something to cry about, right? So we go through these different phases, if you will, or transitions in our life. So I am letting go of others' reactions as a reflection of my self-worth. So again, to me, that seems to be that I know that's one of the biggest ones that I've worked with and letting go of. Consumerism. Now that's another one, right? Consumerism that has us in a hypnotic state. I believe it has society in a hypnotic state. Until I get that, I'm this, right? How many of us, until I get that job, I'm this. Until I get that promotion, I'm this. Once I get that car, I'm this. Maybe you could fill it in your own way. Until I fill it in, whatever it may be. If I have that, if I wear those clothes, I'm going to appear this way towards others in the outside world. And what we're saying in both of these is your opinion of me is more important than my opinion of me, right? I mean, that's really a lot of how society is today, is if they do good or if they accept me, then I must be acceptable. If I'm part of the in crowd, right, in school, if I'm part of the clique, then once I'm part of the group, then I'm accepted. Then I feel I'm worthy of their opinion or opinions of me. Again, it goes back to as early as kindergarten, right? Kindergarten, grade school, and how that starts to develop this mechanism within us that has us feeling as though that we're not worthy, we're not there yet. Society says, well, now we get a little older, once I get the house, right? If I live in that neighborhood, if I'm in with that group within the neighborhood, we all have our groups. We all want into our own groups. So really, guys, what is it about is letting go of external devices, the outside world telling us how we should feel about ourselves. We are perfect and whole and complete inside, exactly the way we are, exactly the way we came into this world. There is nothing wrong with any of us. We are part of that divine source energy. Um, it's almost as if, like, if I take this cylinder here and I put it there. This is source energy, okay? And then there's a connection between there and me. I'm part of that. But what ends up happening is if my arm is the connecting mechanism between source energy and myself, how corroded does this get over our life, right? The more corroded, the more that we put the opinions of others before us that tells us how we should feel about ourselves, the more corroded this connection gets. And the more we start to live in the moment, right? The more we start to catch ourselves saying, well, wait a minute, am I responding or am I reacting to that person's behavior? Right? Once we do that, that connection starts, the corrosion starts to break away, almost like, well, here in the Northeast and a lot of part of the country, but more so here in the Northeast, we've had an ice storm the other day, and I was walking my dog the other day, and I saw the trees look beautiful, the glistening ice. But if you see the branch, I noticed a branch that it was encased in ice, right? To me, the branch, that little twig inside there, represents our connection to source energy. The ice that formed around it is the corrosion that is sort of keeping this inside of a little, almost like a cocoon. And as we begin to catch ourselves in moments and saying, hey, I'm reacting to this, I'm not responding, we're not taking ourselves into that moment and saying, okay, it's time for me to understand what I'm doing here. That's a victory when we do that. That helps to, in the case of the ice, that helps to melt the ice. And you'll start noticing it by the way we feel. Okay. So it really comes down to letting go of the fear, letting go of the need to have others determine how we should feel about ourselves. I believe that's a lot of why, there's alcohol out there, alcoholism and drugs, right? That's a form of escapism. When we were growing up, a lot of us who are my age or older, um, there was no talking about this stuff. There was no talking about that. Suppress. There's a lot of why where I grew up in my town, there was a lot of drugs and alcohol abuse because, that's where you went to therapy was in the bottom of a bottle of booze, beer or what have you. So really my message tonight to you guys is happiness is internal. It's not external. Okay? This is what we've learned to understand that it's not external. Happiness is internal. So I want to leave you guys with actually, you know what? I want to leave you with a story. Here's a story about a lady. Her name was Portia Nelson. And Portia Nelson, she attended a lecture. And at the lecture, they asked all the participants they handed out these 5x7 cards and they asked them to write down in the 5 chapters of their life. And the reason they gave these cards, these 5x7 cards, is because they didn't want them to be too wordy. Okay, so Portia Nelson wrote down her life in these 5 chapters, and it goes like this: Chapter 1 of my life. I walk down the street. There's a giant hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault, and it takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a giant hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. It isn't my fault, and it still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it. I see it there, and I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am, and it's my own fault. And I get out immediately. Chapter 4 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5 of my life. I walk down another street. Tonight, guys, my my hope for you is tonight starts you down that new street. In each moment of our life, we have this choice. And I heard Wayne Dyer say this, and it was profound, almost as profound as this affirmation. He says, each moment of our life, we have a choice. We can choose to be a host to God or continue to be a victim to our ego. It's your choice. God bless you, and I'll see you the next time.